Get excited, folks. We're here to talk Huskers football for the next hour with you. So bring those comments and questions, leave them in the live chat right here, the Voice of College Football, GBR. We've been here for 56 consecutive weeks. And the reason we're able to do that is this guy, Greg Peterson, Husker on the line. Greg, how you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Mark. Is it snowing there yet or what?
No snow, just cold. Cold and
Okay.
sunny, though. It's been nice and sunny for
Well,
like a week now, but
well,
cold.
just like every week here, it's been an amazingly beautiful day here in America's heartland. 64 degrees here in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Really? You need
So,
to,
yeah. How about
they
that?
need to pick you up
In the
as
sun.
recruiting coordinator, and you need to hit the recruiting trail for Nebraska and sell some of that weather.
Well, I think it's only on Tuesdays, though.
Okay.
That's the thing about it. But yeah.
So, for as good as Tuesday is here, and everyone, we hope you are here every Tuesday. And this is the deal. We are here at 6 o'clock Central Time every Tuesday. For as good as Tuesdays are to you, Greg, I hear you had quite the experience, and it was quite the night last Thursday.
Yeah, we talked. I think we mentioned it was coming up. I'm not sure if we did last week or not, but Thursday night was my boss, Sean Callahan, kicked off his speaking tour that he does every year. Goes in and at different venues and talks about the recruiting class, and I always put together a recruiting class video that he shows. And he's kind of adapted to the first showing every year at his church here in Lincoln, St. Michael's, and the event's it's just gotten bigger and bigger every year. Going from just having having some former players come up and talk a little bit. Sean steals the show, obviously, but this year was a really special experience that it was a sold out event. Crazy thing is that you got a gymnasium packed full of people that are supporting a 3-9 football team, and Sean got it done where Mickey Joseph, the new wide receivers coach, was there, and as well as there was 4 of the brand new transfer players in attendance as well that took the podium or took the stage, and there's supposed to be 5, but anyway, they just knocked it out of the park, and a really, really amazing experience, and kind of crazy to hear what Mickey Joseph has to say, and just opens your eyes on the whole recruiting thing, and we can get into that, but I think that it was pretty cool to have a lot of Husker fans sitting there, and you had Trey Palmer, the former 5-star standout, the LSU transfer, wide receiver, kick return specialist. He's there, and Chubba Purdy, the Florida State quarterback transfer as well. They were the 2 offensive guys, and they sat down, and Sean, talked to them about their whole journey from high school to Lincoln, and was really cool to hear some of the recruiting tidbits and coaching. I mean, obviously we'll go with Chubba Purdy first. That how he talked about his relationship with Nebraska's new offensive coordinator Mark Whipple, that that was trying to recruit him to Pitt when he was making his decision. Obviously, he went to Florida State, but as soon as he hit in the transfer portal, he was right there with Coach Whipple, and he was ready to go to Pitt. And some cool inside stuff is that he was ready to commit to Pitt, and Coach Whipple, he had his in-home visit with him the previous night, and Coach and Chubba was ready to go ahead and commit, and Coach Whipple said, "Hold on a minute, though. Don't make your decision yet. There might be something that changes things here." And sure enough, the next day is when he was hired here at Nebraska. And sorry about that. That was the very next day. Coach Whipple got hired at Nebraska, and he called Chubba and said, "Hey, I'm going to Nebraska. What do you think?" And it was pretty much a done deal because he said he was going to go anywhere where Coach Whipple was going. And then on the same note, same thing with Trey Palmer, and the relationship that he has with Mickey Joseph is like father and son, and Trey knew exactly the same thing. Was that he had a transfer portal, and he was going to go wherever Coach Mickey was going. So, and there's then they elaborate a lot on their high school careers, and then the defensive guys there, Tommy Hill, the transfer from Arizona State, was one of them, and he did another outstanding job about talking about his journey from high school to Arizona State, and then to Lincoln, and really, really insightful stuff. Deshaun Shingleton was the other one that came from the JUCO route, but was once committed to Alabama, and it's just really cool to hear all their stories, and hey, it was pretty wild that they kind of came in and didn't know what they were expecting, and we told them right at the start, it's like, hey, this is kind of what it is here. It's February, I don't know what it was, February 10th or something like that, and everybody here is just chomping the bit for Husker football, and don't get overwhelmed. It's just like that around here all the time. So it was a really special night, and just some of the insight that Mickey Joseph gave about his recruiting strategies and about his coaching strategies, and just about the overall thing. We'll definitely get into, but yeah, I mean, it was a really, really cool night, and obviously something that us Husker Online puts on exclusively. And if you're lucky enough to be in Lincoln to see some of these events, or in the Omaha area, or anywhere in the state of Nebraska, these go on here for the next 2-3 months. They're spread out, but it's a really great thing. You can go to our website and check out where Sean's he's stopping at to talk at next, and always excuse me, always open for the public to come in and buy a ticket and check it out. Really cool stuff going on.
Very nice. Does that happen on campus?
No, there are different venues. Like I said, this one was at Sean's church, which is St. Michael's, and it's one of the biggest Catholic churches in Lincoln, that in the new part, kind of the growing part of Lincoln, and that's where most of the coaches will send their kids to, and that funnels into Lincoln Pius, the 10th Catholic high school here in Lincoln, and so that was a cool deal. But the rest of them all kind of go on in different venues. It could be a restaurant, or a hotel, all kinds of different places where they have a meeting room or a big area to gather and have people attend.
How long has this
good
been
way to
going
learn
on?
about the class. Sean's been doing this for probably 15, 18 years or so now, and it gets bigger and bigger every year. Yep.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, and the point that I'm trying to make, I mean, this is kind of run of the mill to most people that don't know what we're talking about, but the cool thing is now that with NIL and the ability for us to actually get active players and coaches to come to these events, and to spend their time. And they all got paid. Mickey Joseph got paid for being there, and all the players got paid. So yeah, it's a win-win for everybody, and it's another opportunity for Nebraska fans to reach out and be a part of things and actually talk to these guys one-on-one. Pretty cool thing.
Appreciate everybody being here at the Voice of College Football, GBR, and certainly the Super Chat's available to contribute to the channel, and you can also bypass YouTube if you go to Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. Search Mark Rogers TV there. Just let us know that it's for the Nebraska show. Greg Peterson's here. I'm here. It's 56 consecutive weeks talking Huskers with all of you. John, I did not get the helmet, but thanks for asking, and I'm sure it's on its way.
Wow.
I am sure it's on its way. Yeah, I did get Texas A&M and Oregon this week, so the Huskers looking to keep up. The defensive tackle and linebacker spots, David would like to see some names in the portal.
Well, linebacker in Nebraska's pretty much solid there. They're not looking to take anything else. But obviously on the defensive line, they're not done in the portal, and that's what they're targeting right now. I'm trying to remember the name that we were talking about. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the guy's name or the school that he's coming from, but they have a target there that they're really looking at. I wish I would have done my homework before we went online here to actually solidify that. But
I'll start digging.
That's a spot though that they're not done yet adding players to this roster before the season starts. But yeah, you want to get at least a big guy to play on the inside, and you're also looking for another pass rushing type of a guy. He might have been a guy from Colorado now that I'm thinking about it. But I'm sorry, I've had a lot of other things going on besides that right now.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Jacob asking, what's the best record do you think Nebraska could have next year and the worst they could have? So best case scenario, worst case scenario. I think Casey Thompson looks like a badass, so I hope they're better with him under center, although he won't be under center much, of course.
No. Well, you know what? That's debatable. We don't know. We'll see what Mark Whipple comes out with here in a couple weeks.
I would still be surprised if it's much.
I would be too, but yeah. I'm gonna say. I mean, the worst they can do. I don't know. You got to the way the schedule kind of breaks down. I mean, 5 losses maybe. I mean, 5 wins would be the worst, I would think. But obviously, I mean, we talked a little bit last week that some people had them going to the Big Ten title game, but I'm saying 8 wins. 8-5. That's what I'm looking. I mean, and then maybe you get a couple bonus wins and bump that up to a 9-4.
So I am looking at it here, and I'm going to toss out the bowl game because not predicting a bowl game because I don't know who they're going to play in a bowl game. So let's look at the 12 that they play. Of course, the obvious answer is the best they could do is 12-0, and the worst they could do is 0-12. Okay, so let's get the obvious out of the way. They got to beat Northwestern in week 0. I just think that that's a huge game for them to get off to a good start, not get off to the kind of start they did last year. It's one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. They can't let that one slide. Now, they don't have to face that gauntlet, Michigan State, Ohio State in the Big Ten East this year. I actually cut a video. I've yet to post it. I'm looking at Big Ten schedules, and who is getting really hammered versus who is getting a light schedule. So Purdue, out of the three teams that Purdue plays in the Big Ten Eastern Division, they're playing Maryland, Indiana, and Rutgers. Those three teams went 7-20 in the Big Ten last year. So Purdue's playing the easiest schedule in the Big Ten this year by far. It's not even close. Nebraska's been accustomed to getting hammered the last several years. They're getting a lighter touch this year. So between Indiana 0-9, Rutgers 2-7, and Michigan 8-1, the three teams that Nebraska plays in the other division went 10-17 last year. So that's a lot lighter than what they've had to face. So Michigan's going to be a difficult one, of course, on the road, but the other two they should win. Man, there's a slew of toss-up games: Minnesota, Purdue, Wisconsin, Iowa. Those are the four in particular that they gotta, if they want to win the division, I think they got to win 3 out of those 4. But to have a nice season, split those games, and I think realistically, I'm going 8-4, 5-7.
Yeah,
those are my top and bottom figures.
Yep. I think so too. I mean, right? You mentioned starting off the season in Dublin against Northwestern, and you think, Nebraska obviously probably going to be favored in that game, and then you come home, for another 2 games that they're going to be favored in, and then you have Oklahoma coming in week 4 of Nebraska's season, which, an Oklahoma team that has 11 guys in the NFL Combine and a brand new coaching staff and a lot of transfers out and in. Nebraska, I think, couldn't ask to get a home game against an Oklahoma at a better spot. So you love those chances of, maybe all of a sudden Nebraska starts 4-0 and you have some more games there that you're going to be favored in. And then the back half of that schedule is the hardest part, obviously. With Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin to kind of close things out. And, you play Minnesota before that. So, 8 wins, I think, is what I'm kind of targeting. But the way that schedule looks at too, I mean, you could easily see them maybe being a 10-2 team, and maybe getting a chance to play in Indianapolis. It's hard to say, but you have to win against those teams here in the West. You've got to beat Iowa. You've got to beat Minnesota. You've got to beat Wisconsin. If you can't do that, it's a moot point. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, John, we hear you. Lost to Michigan by 3, lost to Ohio State by 9, and it was even closer than that. Lost to Oklahoma by 7. All good / great teams. Yep, that was the deal.
Yeah.
That was the deal. All right, folks, you can fire off some questions and comments. We are here for however long you want us. Well, minus 40 minutes at the outside. Let me put it that way. We got 87 on the line. Appreciate everybody being here. We're here every Tuesday, 6 Central. Did we ever get a date on spring football?
Yeah, 28th.
Starts on the 28th of this month, February 28th?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
2 weeks.
Most everybody else starts about 2 weeks after that.
Well, they're starting early. And Coach Frost doesn't like it being starting this early, obviously. But, they like to do 3 weeks on and then have a week off and then finishing up with the last 2 weeks and then have the spring game. But the schedule has been moved up a little bit this year because the field turf inside Memorial Stadium is being replaced. It's overdue. It is it's 9 years old now. The turf there for a product that is only scheduled to last 7, and the problem was that COVID hit, and when Bill Moose was still the AD here, they kind of put that project off, and then they put it off again last year, and so the field turf is being replaced. Bottom line, inside Memorial Stadium. So that is moved up spring practice and everything by a week because they need to get that project done by graduation, because they have graduation commencement there on the field in Memorial Stadium. So they need to have that done there by the end of May. So that's why that's the reason why it's starting so early. Yeah, obviously they'd like to have a little bit more time before it starts, but it is what it is. And you know what? Heck, spring football starting in February. It's kind of cool. I like it.
Okay. Hopefully the weather cooperates. Hopefully it's just a Tuesday every day, I guess.
Well, the weather doesn't really matter for them. They can practice inside.
Well, you can practice inside. I know that, but you like to practice outside.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
Well,
hey, but you know what? Every Tuesday, it's in the 60s, so they can always practice outside on Tuesdays. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about Tuesday.
I don't either.
I think the good Lord is just smiling down on Nebraska, knowing that the big show is coming up that night. Must be that. So you mentioned talking about the event on Thursday night, just the dedication of Nebraska fans and a lot of players that come to Nebraska for the first time, being blown away by the support in the middle of the winter, 7 months away from college football season. You know, can you really think of a program? Because off the top of my head, I can't. Sure, I can think of Ohio State and Alabama, but I'm talking about a program that's not winning.
All right. No.
You take a blue blood like Florida State. They've had 4 or 5 consecutive losing seasons as well. We could go down the list. Miami, nobody shows up at the games. USC, nobody shows up at the games. Florida State, they show up at the games, but they've hurt seriously at the gate. Like you just don't see it anywhere where the place is packed for a 3-9 football team.
No, I kind of led to that earlier when Sean at that event on Thursday joked with him saying, "This is what you guys have gotten yourself into, basically. The support here is amazing. You're not going to see it anywhere else. And, when the team is not winning, most times nobody wants to go see them. But it's a very unique, special place here that obviously most people know there's not a lot else going on around here. So Nebraska football is what everybody has in common that lives in the state, and and it branches out across the country and globally. That once you're a Husker fan, you're one for life, and you kind of you pass that tradition on to your family, and it's a really cool thing that you're just not going to find anywhere else. It's hard to explain unless you've been around it.
Moonbot, thank you for the contribution. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate you being here all the time. Best show on YouTube. We'll take it.
That's the man. Yep.
All right. I want everyone in the live chat to write down in the live chat, enter your favorite Nebraska player of all time. And then Greg's going to tell us who his favorite player of all time is.
Oh, man. Should have asked me this. Give me a week in advance.
Give you a week. You need a week. Okay. We'll read some responses if somebody jumps in here and answers the question. Johnny Rogers, Scott Frost, Talk is Pitt, being sarcastic as usual. Don't know any. Moonbot 7, John Reese. Joey Foster, can't remember his name. Running back in 1993. Well, I'm going to know the name as soon as I see it. I'm going to be like, okay, but I don't feel like racking my brain. Nebraska.
A lot of good ones.
Would,
I know. I mean, I know who mine is. Obviously, when you give me a chance to soak the question in. Yeah.
Oh, Calvin Jones. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, a lot of them. No.
Mike Brown, says John.
So
D-Rock Irish. Tommy Frazier. Got a vote from David. Tom Rathman.
Yeah, Tommy Frazier's name's gone by there a bunch of times.
Got Jose says Lawrence Phillips. Rob says Turner Gill. We've got a vote for an offensive lineman, the great Dave Remington.
Rip. Somebody's voting for Rip from Yellowstone.
Another Lawrence Phillips. Joel Makovica, number 45, I believe.
Did I see any Tom Rathmans yet?
I've seen one Rathman. Okay. Roy Halou.
Another good one.
Jarvis Redwine.
No Domicon Sues or Levante Davids.
Ooh, Irving Fryer. Have not seen either one of them.
Yeah, Irving Fryer, obviously.
Along with Amon Green. Good call there, Richard.
Green, Omaha Central.
Will Farley.
Another stud.
Roger Craig.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Peters. Grant Windstrom. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, the little bit off on the spelling there. Wistrom. How about a top 50? Trev Albert's got a vote.
Hey, never heard of him. He played?
I thought he's not always wear the suit and tie.
I thought he was just an administrator.
No, he's all cleaned up and looking good. But
I haven't seen it. I have not seen a single Mickey Joseph yet.
Will Shields won for the offensive line.
Oh, hey, look at that. That's a Hall of Famer. NFL Hall.
I love when the offensive linemen get some love. They deserve it.
Yep. And you forget about his son, who was a star basketball player here too. So
okay,
yeah.
Talk his pit. Amon Green. Didn't he play for the Green Bay Packers? Absolutely, he did.
And
he was really good.
And he's in the Omaha Central Hall of Fame as well, along with the names, the likes of oh my goodness, Bears. How can I'm forgetting my guy here, Gale Sayers. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
The Kansas Comet came from Omaha Central. Yep. So did Amon Green. So
not bad.
Yep. A little Rex Burkhead. How about a little?
Yes,
how about a little Miradula? We can keep going.
Didn't see that.
Yep.
Matt Davison.
He he's here on staff. He's on Scott Frost's staff, associate AD. Another
Vince Ferragamo.
Vince Ferragamo played for the Rams in the Super Bowl.
Yes, he did.
Back in the day. Yep. How about Barrett Ruud? He had a pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Too, and as the coach on the staff. And, yeah. How about that? Steinkühler. How about Dean Steinkühler? Throw him in too.
Sure. Brooks Behringer mentioned there by Lemansky.
Yeah. Rest and soul.
Late great.
Yep.
Mike McNeil.
Yeah, he was a pretty good DB. He was all right.
Danny Noonan, who was a top pick in the NFL.
And his son Maverick is one of the top prospects coming up here in the state. One of my favorite football players right now in the high school ranks. So, yeah. That's the neat thing about being able to see a lot of these former Husker greats don't stray too far away after their pro careers are over. A lot of them end up back here in either the Lincoln or Omaha area. kind of cool to see.
Folks, you can sponsor us here at the Voice of College Football. Just hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail.
But anyway, I never did answer the question, but I can't go anywhere else besides Tommy Frazier for my favorite Husker of all time. That's my vote.
Okay, not the most creative vote, but certainly a popular one.
Well, you know what? I was, those were right after my college years. Well, actually, it was my college years. And he was just so electric and really left such a lasting impression on all Husker fans. And, he's still around. So, it's cool to see all these old Huskers are always around. Johnny Rogers always a fixture around, and you want to talk about the quarterbacks. Obviously Scott Frost is a coach, but you got Mickey Joseph here now. Steve Taylor is always here. He's on the Husker Nightline or the Husker Reaction Show every Saturday. All kinds of names, always around. So it's really cool.
David on one play is going with Jordan Westerkamp because he made the ridiculous catch behind his back.
Yeah, and he did. Yeah, Westy was a stud, man. I love Westy, and that might be one of the most memorable plays. It'll go down there as one of the most memorable in Nebraska history. Obviously, does he know? Can he name the quarterback that threw the ball to Westy on that?
The quarterback who threw the ball?
Yeah.
I would guess it was Tommy Armstrong.
Nope.
Was it like a halfback option play?
No, it was a quarterback. He's a famous name, has family ties to the basketball world, the Kansas Jayhawk basketball world. National champion basketball player.
Really?
Kansas. Ron Kellogg Jr. was the quarterback.
Oh, yeah. I remember him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
There it is. Ben got it.
Another Omaha Central product. Both
No
of them.
one mentioned Eric Crouch.
Nobody did. Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah, crazy.
DE is asking, how about the best player last year? So I don't know who was named. I'll look it up here in a second. You may remember it from the awards banquet, but the MVP of the Nebraska football team in 2021. Who would that be for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Boy, that's a tough one. I know. I probably just got to go with Adrian Martinez. Seriously, for what he went through on his, with all the injuries he battled, that a lot of people didn't know about and stuff, and the adversity that he battled, I would have gave it to Adrian.
Well, I'm trying to figure out from all these award names which one. So the offensive MVP went to Austin Allen, and the defensive MVP went to JoJo Doman.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? JoJo Doman got to be a close second for me. He's the heart and soul of the team. And unfortunately, his season ended, a little bit too short. But yeah, he really left his mark here, and he was able to give it a go in I think he was in the East-West Shrine game, and he was in the Senior Bowl, and had a really nice play there in the first quarter, tackle for loss, and yeah, he's. Now that I think about it, I might even change it over to JoJo for my.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Greg, since we are just 2 weeks away from the opening of spring practice, and then it's going to last like you just said.
And just let me add that the defense has played so great all year, but you saw them kind of run out of gas. at the end of the year when JoJo got hurt. So sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No worries. So with spring practice, as you just outlined, starting on February 28th, and I know it's difficult for the media because you don't get the access that you would like to see the games, but there's certainly going to be a couple inter squad scrimmages that are going to be, in terms of evaluation of the team, are going to be just as important as the one that gets televised in the Big Ten Network.
Which is dressed up practice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dressed up practice. There's a couple other ones like that, but based on all the information you're going to be able to gather and what you're going to be able to see, what's going to make you feel better about this team after spring practice? What do you want to hear about? What do you want to see that you think is most important?
Well, I mean, what are you talking about? Like as soon as it starts, I mean,
In terms of development.
Like our first access day, or
When it's all said and done, when the entire spring season's over, what are you going to think? Okay, based on this, and this, I got to see this, and this, but I also read about this, and that, and I talked to these players and coaches, and I'm putting this together. I feel better because blank.
All right. Well, first off, let me correct you. I don't read anybody's stuff.
Okay.
I just go off of what I see. Okay. I'm kind of joking a little bit there, but not all that much. No, I obviously I want to see, first and foremost, I want to see the new offensive scheme and the changes in what they're going to be running, because this is the first time under Scott Frost that he has brought, he has a offensive coordinator that he brought in to run the show. He's taken a step back. So in the past, the last two offensive coordinators he's had have been yes men. I mean, he's the one that's been pretty much pulling the strings on the offense, and we've seen kind of the results of that other areas of the game have really suffered. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to point out that the special teams might have been one of those areas that have been lacking here lately. So now Coach Frost has the time to be a CEO and to actually step back and run things, but still be involved in the offense, because he is one of the foremost offensive minds out there in the college football world. And now that he can just have some input and have that responsibility fall onto somebody else, by the name of Mark Whipple, who has been in coaching for 40 years and has been in the NFL, has been in college. He took a Pittsburgh team that has always been known for defense, a head coach, a defensive-minded head coach, and he turned a Pittsburgh team offensively around to be pretty potent, and to put a quarterback into the Heisman Trophy finalist, in New York. So, and probably the first quarterback going off the board in the NFL draft. So this is a different dynamic than we've seen here, and all the way around with a new running backs coach, a new wide receivers coach. That's what we're looking to see by the end of spring ball for the glorified 15 practices that we don't really get to see much of, and then just a bells and whistles extra practice that we see here at the 1st of April to try to evaluate things. And yeah, we just want to see and kind of see how things are melding together on the offensive side of the ball. And obviously, with influx of talent, you've seen adding 28 new guys through the recruiting class and through the transfer portal and the JUCO ranks. you want to see how these guys are all are going to mesh in, and I think there's 14 of them are already here on campus that are going to be taking part in spring ball. So that's half of your newcomers here that you're going to get a good look at here, or we are going to get a good look at here. And yeah, you just want to see kind of progress and kind of how they're going to be doing things. They're the different kind of way they're going to be doing things.
David Soares is asking, Mark and Greg, should Nebraska innovate the defense because they are not the black shirts of expectations, a.k.a. stop the run in the pass with good stats? I think 5-2-4, 5 linemen, 2 linebackers, 2 defensive backs, 2 safeties. Well, I think that the the scheme is a bit overrated, and a 5-2-4, they're not going to run a 5-2-4, are they? No.
Well, I mean, you've already seen the development of this defense under Eric Shenander that has gotten better each and every year, and he's thrown his name into the into that category where he's a pretty coveted guy that a lot of people would like to snag away from Nebraska. And I know Coach Shenander pretty good, and he's always going to be adapting his defense to the personnel that he has, and he's going to always get the most out of them. So, yeah, I don't really see any kind of change in scheme like that. You got to, you're playing in the Big Ten. You're trying to stop the run first and foremost. It's all played in the trenches pretty much in this conference, and you're going to be you're either going to well, I mean, they say they play the 3-4, but you've seen them really move more into having more guys up on the line than an actual 3-4 scheme. So I expect to even this year probably to have more guys up front, just because you're lacking. You lost a lot of talent on that defensive line, and you got to play a lot of these guys. You can't just have one starting unit, especially in the Big Ten. You've got to have 3 waves of guys to bring in on that defensive line. And, that's going to be one of the interesting things that we see here when spring ball starts, and to see what else they can add here before they start getting into fall camp.
Omar Manning last season caught 27 passes, 2 touchdowns, 379 yards, 14 per catch. Richard asks, do you think Omar Manning will have a big year? Offensive line is scary. You to think about what your opinion. Yes, I only read them.
Yeah, Omar Manning, I think, is poised to really have a big year, and especially now that he's under the tutelage of a guy like Mickey Joseph, who, one of the things that really stood out about what Coach Mickey said on Thursday is that, hey, it doesn't matter how good your coaching is. You got to have dudes. You got to have guys to win games.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, and he brings up, that magical year at LSU. You had the number 1 draft pick quarterback throwing the ball to 2 first-round wide receivers and 2 second-round wide receivers. No, 3. I'm sorry, 3 first-round wide receivers. So yeah, it takes dudes. It takes players to win. It takes coaches that know how to keep these guys happy and make them feel at home. So, yeah, I think Omar Manning is going to be a guy that is going to really the light bulb is going to come on, because talking to Mickey, he's got that kind of special thing. And we already saw, obviously his first year here, you got to throw out because it was COVID year, and it was kind of weird. He had some injuries that weren't real public. But now, and that's one of the things that Mickey Joseph said too, is that we'd asked him about the current, wide receiver room there, and Omar Manning was the first guy. I mean, his eyes lit up when Omar Manning has got this exact skill set that makes Mickey Joseph drool and just can't wait to work with. And him and Xavier Betts is another one that Mickey. I mean, he's like, this guy's a Randy Moss. He's waiting to break out. And then he also Oliver Martin was another guy he brought up as well. So you've already got some guys to start with, on top of all kinds of talent that you're brought in. 7 wide receivers or 5 wide receivers coming in this class. Including a former 5-star number 2 player in the country, and then another highly ranked 4-star and a real high ranked 3-star. So I mean, heck. I think Omar Manning is going to step up this year and be that leader in that wide receiver room, kind of like what you saw Stanley Morgan become by the time he was all said and done. And he just got wrapped up his season here Sunday, even if he didn't play the game due to injury. But yeah, and then offensive line, heck, what I'm hearing right now. With Coach Raiola coming in and his style, I've only heard just great things because he's more of a straight up run the ball guy, get your offensive line going forward, and you've got some guys that are ready to step up. Hopefully, Teddy Prohaska is ready. I mean, we're probably not going to see him in the spring. But for fall camp, he's ready to go. And if things kind of shake out, I think you move Turner Corcoran to center. And you got Nuri Newellen for a guard, and you got some of these new guys, that have come in. And I think, what I'm hearing with Coach Raiola and the relationship that they've already built here, I'm expecting the offensive line to start to come out and be nasty and be, have a little bit of different, because of the new offensive scheme, not have to worry about being a finesse offensive line, but now be more of a power offensive line that's going to push you downfield and then beat you into the ground with a pancake. And that's kind of the way I'm hearing things since Coach Raiola got here.
We've had all sorts of conversations on here for the 56 different shows that we've done Nebraska football here, Huskers Live with Greg, where people comment, of course, about the move from the Big 12 to the Big 10. Jose's take on it is, even though we suck in the Big 10, they seem to respect us being here, whereas in the Big 12, we seem to snub their noses up at us.
You know what? The whole Big 12 thing, I think, has been biased by Texas ever since the Big 12 originated. When it merged from the Big 8 and the old Southwestern Conference, Texas kind of had dominated, had been anointed the leader of that, when Nebraska and Oklahoma had dominated that conference for year in and year out for so long. And I think that's where the disrespect just came from. Nebraska, since moving to the Big Ten, I think obviously the Big Ten was excited to have Nebraska. They know the tradition, and when you have a top 5 winning team of all time joining your conference, and a really good, academic school that meets your Big Ten academic standards. Hands down, they love having Nebraska, and I think they're happy as hell that Nebraska's sucked ever since they've been in the Big Ten, pretty much. I mean, you did see, first couple of years when they still had the Big 12 model going with a good defense under Bo Pelini and stuff. They made a Big Ten title game, but it's been down the hill since. Ever since Bo Pelini was let go, Nebraska's been searching, and they've kind of just fallen by the wayside in the Big Ten is, if you're not a Nebraska fan, you're not really expecting them to do anything. Obviously, if you're from Nebraska or a Nebraska fan, on the flip side, you're watching your team lose to perennial teams that you've dominated since you've been in existence, even though you're not in the same conference, but when you played them, that teams like Illinois and Purdue, Northwestern and Minnesota, Iowa, I mean, that are beating you now all the time, it leaves a nasty taste in your mouth because as a Nebraska fan that's been a Nebraska fan for a long time, you know that you're better than that. I think once things get turned around here, maybe it'll change that perception from the rest of the Big Ten to think, oh yeah, all of a sudden here, this isn't that Nebraska that was so talked about moving into our conference to be one of those teams, to be like an Ohio State and the Michigan, and that just hasn't happened. But obviously, if you're a Nebraska fan, you're still waiting for it to happen, and you're pretty sure that it will happen one of these days.
Yeah, the Big Ten brought in Nebraska, and then a couple of years later brought in Rutgers and Maryland, and did it to the Rutgers Maryland move was strictly a cable households move.
Yep.
Basically tied to the old system of cable TV.
Big Ten Network.
Big Ten Network. Yeah, we can get into New York City, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, the East Coast. The Nebraska move was strictly a football move. That, okay, yep. As long as the academics are what they should be, and they met the standard, this is a football move that we want to keep up with.
Well, and look what was happening
there. Or try to catch the SEC.
Look what was happening there at the time. All of a sudden, the Big Ten was not happy with Texas. Colorado left the year before, went to the Pac-12, and that opened the door for Nebraska saying, you know what, if Colorado's going to and we leave out Missouri going to the SEC. Well, and then later Texas A&M. But yeah, after Colorado, Nebraska was the next team to say, this league is going to fall apart sooner or later. And what are we seeing now? Now Texas and Oklahoma are gone too. So yeah, Nebraska was there. They saw it. Tom Osborne at the time saw it, and it was a big time. Tom Osborne obviously would be probably the biggest hater of Texas if you talk to somebody behind closed doors. And so Nebraska said, hey, we're free agents. So who did the Big Ten say, oh my goodness, we're going to swallow up one of the top 5 programs of all time to add to 2 of the other top 5? No brainer, right? But yeah, things haven't worked out football-wise in that aspect. But you know what? We'll see. It's many more years of college football to come, Mark.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Northern Knoll. So basically, Nebraska, of course, had all the great rivalries in the Big 12.
Northern Knoll, he lives in the north side of Tallahassee.
And I guess that's what we're going with there. And certainly Nebraska had its chief rivalry with Oklahoma, and that was torn apart because of the move, and quite the rivalry with Colorado. So now we are about 12 years into this Big Ten experiment. It's more than an experiment. It's permanent. But I know that the Big Ten is forced Iowa and Nebraska together, and it makes sense because of geography, and it makes sense because of history. They used to play all the time. How well do you think that's worked? Do you think it's taken?
I think finally it has taken. The fans are the last hurdle in this. The fans are the last ones to be convinced that this is a rivalry game. Obviously it's now played on Black Friday, which had taken, the other rivalry games that Nebraska had always been involved with. This replaced that. But finally, I was one of those people that did not want to give in and say, this is your rival. But it really took until this season, seriously, for the light bulb to go on inside my head, just by talking to the players and the way the players approach this game, there's a little extra juice going into that week. It doesn't matter if it's the last regular season game of the year and what your record is. They're pumped to play Iowa. They want to beat Iowa. And obviously, they haven't been very successful against Iowa for the last several years. And all of them want that to change. They want to bring home whatever the hell they're calling the trophy each year. But yeah, it has turned into a rivalry game. And I'm one of the biggest sticklers out there. And I'm finally convinced that it is their rivalry game. And I don't see anything else ever changing that unless both of them leave the conference.
Nebraska's been in the Big Ten for about 11 years. These players are anywhere from 18 to 21 years old. So for them, that's what Nebraska's history is. Not that many of them didn't grow up in households that talk Nebraska football and have taught them about what's happened in the past, and they don't have knowledge of it, but many of them don't. They didn't follow college football. They weren't into college football, or they just got into it by themselves as a 12 or 13-year-old. And so for them, Nebraska is a member of the Big Ten. You do understand in talking to some younger fans, and this happens to me on a regular basis, that their viewpoint is based on their age and what they're around and who they've talked to and how much history they dive into. So some people just take it as, to them, Rutgers is a member of the Big Ten, Ohio State's a member of the Big Ten. What's the difference? Well, there was a big difference, but hey, if you've only been watching college football for 3 years, what is the difference in terms of membership? So, I'm just making the point, basically, for some of these players, Iowa's been the rival during their lifetime and been the opponent the last game of the season.
Well, the funny thing about that is that geographically, Nebraska, Iowa probably are the two that go at it most recruiting wise for this part of the country. I mean, how close they are together. And yeah, they played each other when Nebraska was a Big 8 team or a Big 12 team. They played Iowa here and there. And so there was that border kind of battle, but Nebraska was always playing Iowa State year in and year out. So Iowa was kind of an afterthought that, we're the Big 8, we're the Big 12. We don't care about Big 10 football. But now now that you're in the same conference and you're going head to head for big time recruits, and you see how successful Iowa is getting Nebraska players, especially out of the Omaha area. I mean, look at Noah Fant. Look at CJ Johnson. I mean, not CJ, but his brother. I mean, there's Nebraska battle. Look at Thomas Fedoni here at Nebraska. And these are guys that I can go to games either in Omaha or Council Bluffs or what have you, and you might have Coach Frost there watching, or you might have Kirk Ferentz there with his staff watching the game. These guys are going head to head in the whole recruiting battle. And, year in and year out, most of the time Nebraska's won that overall conference, better ranked conference recruiting and better ranked overall recruiting. But Iowa's the one who's winning the games on the field. So sooner or later, something's going to give. But yeah, I mean, that's a way bigger factor nowadays than it used to be when, Nebraska might get a guy out of the state of Iowa. It's like, who cares? Or Iowa might pluck a guy out of Nebraska. It's like, whatever. But yeah, it's a totally different game nowadays.
Nebraska Live, folks, every Tuesday, 6 Central. So we appreciate you being here tonight. And we simulcast it on the main channel. Just wanted to stir things up and allow some people that don't know that we're here on the Nebraska channel every Tuesday night to give us a look. So appreciate you being here. So keep in mind that most Tuesday nights we're only on the Nebraska channel. So if you're watching us on the main channel, I just did that as a change up today. But we've got way too much traffic and videos and posts on the main channel, and we want to keep it isolated to Nebraska football on the Nebraska channel. So join us every Tuesday night, 6 Central. Bring some people with you. And we appreciate everybody that contributed tonight, people that encouraged everybody to hit the like button. Join Greg's work right here on YouTube. So you don't even have to leave YouTube. Just jump on YouTube. We're right here and go to Husker Online Video. All right. Next Tuesday, we'll do it all again. We'll see everybody back here. Greg, thank you. You make this go for 56 straight weeks.
Wow. Feel old.
Oh, man. I wish that was the reason I felt old, 56 straight weeks. There are other reasons.
Me too.
Appreciate all you being here. Greg, thanks again.